Welcome to another episode of Transformer CEOs. Patrick Svensk is CEO of PodX and chairs 3 other companies. He's a straight-talking senior media executive who's transformed multiple companies as well as the industry. I loved his ability and willingness to flip between CEO and chair roles, depending on need, his take on what it makes for a great Transformer CEO in media, and his total disregard for career planning and politics, but deep passion for great ideas wherever they come from and entrepreneurship. In addition to Transformer CEOs, I run a successful advisory and consulting company working with CEOs, chairmen, and investors to deliver successful business transformations. I believe you're going to enjoy this episode with Patrick, and please remember to leave comments because here at Transformer CEOs, we love your feedback. So Patrick, serial CEO, 6 times chairman, and I believe you have updated the Swedish stock exchange with over 100 quarterly results presentations. So my question to you is, have you not had enough yet?
No, definitely not. I mean, I think a lot of people in my position or my age now, soon turning 60, are saying, oh, it's so difficult and it's boring. It's tedious, takes so much time to either be a chair or a CEO of a listed company. But I think it's pure fun. So I enjoy it immensely. Probably because it's you get instant feedback. So yeah, I've done now probably 101 or 102 since since that happened. But it's a long straight.
That's quite some
years without missing one single quarter. Yeah,
amazing, very impressive. Now, can you remember your first CEO-ship?
Yeah, as a CEO, so running the business, it was a subsidiary in a today large group, the Viaplay group, which have had some problems lately. But in those days, it was part of the owners, the Kinnevik group in Sweden. So I was appointed 2 sort of managing director CEO-ships at the same time. Wow, very strange, but that was the kind of group it was. We started companies all the time. So in the spring of 1994, I was 27. I was appointed interim CEO of TV3 Sweden, the first commercial broadcaster in Sweden, and at the same time of Kinnevik Media International, where we're going to pick up terrestrial licenses for broadcasting in Eastern Europe. So I was 27, and I've been working for 3 years. So yeah, I do remember.
That's impressive. That's impressive. 2 CEOs at 27.
Yeah.
1 is impressive. 2 is something special, right?
But it was an interim thing on the TV3. But it was incredible years. We were building commercial television in non-commercialized countries. I mean, Sweden, for instance, was the second last country in Europe just before Albania to get commercial television in the 90s. So yeah, we were out there being pioneers, but there was a lot of impressions to get from markets like UK, US, of course. So a lot to pick up, which we did. So we were broadcasting out of here for Scandinavia, and then later on in Eastern Europe.
And then a series of other CEO-ships and chairmanships on the back of that.
Yeah, exactly. So since the change of the millennium, I've been group CEO and or chairman of both listed companies, private equity owned, family offices owned. So I think I've got my fair share of everything.
Yeah, and it sounds like some of the early experiences were very entrepreneurial as well, which maybe helped you later in life.
I think they were, and I think they still are. I think as soon as something has grown a little bit too big, either me or the owners have gotten tired of each other, and we have split or departed. So I don't think I've ran a company with more than, maybe 1,000, 1,500 people or so. But then it becomes too big. So I have to start over.
That's interesting. So scale of employee terms, at least, scale is important for you.
No, well, I think building is what's come to be my thing, to build and scale, but then to to administer, or I draw these big paintings with a lot of color, and then there are better people to do the frames and the lighting and all of that to make it really, really good. So I let other people do that. And that's, I've sometimes said also now in the last 10, 15 years that I'm probably a better chairman than I was ever a group CEO.
Okay.
Because I don't have to be so much into the details. I can, enjoy helping out with the bigger picture rather than the frames and the lighting. And then I can do more things at the same time.
Gotcha. That's fascinating, and we'll talk more about that, I'm sure. I just want to stay with the CEO-ship for a minute. So as you took on the various CEO-ships, and you're doing one right now, I believe, as well. What were some of the key experiences you picked up that made you successful in the CEO part of the role?
Well, I've basically been in entertainment for all my life. And I think being very grounded in the entertainment space has been of great help for me. I can see, CEOs, I can envy them sometimes who have gone from, selling cars to selling watches or jewelry. And I've been stuck in media, television, now audio, video, and the broader parts of entertainment. But when I look back at it, it probably makes all sense, because I was when I was younger, when I was in high school and business school, I did a lot of singing and acting and writing and all of that. So I probably was a little bit of an entertainer from when I was a kid. And I didn't, on purposely, as I said, in Sweden, we didn't have commercial television, but we had some. It started then when I was in business school. And so cable TV came, so more than the state-run channels. And I couldn't pay for it because I was glued to the TV set. I couldn't, I would have never finished my studies. But there was a neighbor of mine who he went out in the hallway of the house where we lived in this building, and he always took away the filters so he could enjoy some of that. And I think he was watching porn actually, which I didn't, of course. But then I got stuck. I got glued into the new world of television that came. So, but when I last year in business school, I was sure I was going to become a trainee at Tetra Pak or Procter & Gamble or something like that. Like that, those were hot things in those days. That was back in 1991. And then I ended up in West Drayton, just close to Heathrow in London, outside of London, in the spring of 91, with television as a trainee in a TV station. So, but yeah.
And yet many people would envy you that.
I know. And I want to get back to selling cars as I used to. My father was a car salesman and my mother was selling bras, So
isn't that ironic, the kind of crossover?
Isn't that the grass is greener? I'm very, very fortunate, and I'm happy that I've been able to work with entertainment for a while.
But it sounds like your experience is really born out of a very deep interest from childhood up through, university and into early adulthood.
I didn't admit that at first, because I think it was, I was interviewed as a trainee for an aluminum company. They were making these aluminum profiles and be trainee there. And I thought, God, that's a real job, it's a real industry. I was thinking Ericsson, Electrolux. So I was never, this was nothing that I planned, but when I got into it, I got stuck. I did blame headhunters over time also, that they didn't consider me for any other industries, but I realized I would probably not have, jump ship or, it's been wonderful run so far, 34 and a half years.
Brilliant. Congratulations as well. Now, what about when you were in these roles? Because taking on a CEO-ship at an early age means that you're going to learn by doing. You're going to be thrown in the deep end quite a lot of the time. Was there any key lessons that stand out for you?
Well, this is probably, you work with these kind of questions all your life, but I think the most obvious and important thing that you can learn as young is that, pick your boss if you can. Pick your boss, and then pick an industry that you are interested in or might be interested in, and that is growing. I think it's also, when you're young, if you can manage to do a lot of things at the same time, then you'll know what you're good at, and you'll develop those skills that you need going forward. So I had a fantastic mentor. He'd worked in media all his life. Worked for guys like McCormack in the US. He was running TWI, McCormack's TV side of the things. And he was the one who started TV3 in Scandinavia out of London, came back from US. So very international guy. I emailed with him last night. So we were in regular contact for our Christmas dinner. He's 82 now, but he's still there. He's got it. So he was my true mentor, and that's important.
And what was there a common motivation or inspiration along the way that kept you going in the industry has kept you going for nearly 35 years?
No, I don't know. I'm vain. I am I love instant feedback. I love the stage. So keeping me, being up there as a front runner somewhere where things were changing all the time must have been important to me somehow. I have to confess. I think that where I could see myself make a big difference was important, not hiding out, and therefore I was sort of telling a joke about me or my owners getting tired of each other, but that's true. I mean, I've been fired 2 or 3 times, and I've walked out of situation where I didn't feel that I could offer anything anymore, and I think that's where I want to be. I want to be at the edge.
Yeah, and you want to be where you want to be as well. Yeah. That sounds like it's important. Yeah. And what about family? So as family was developing alongside your career, what would their comment or commentary be on your journey through these various CEOships and onto chairmanship?
Well, I don't know. I'm not the kind of guy who talks a lot about work. Okay. Neither with friends nor with my family, not that much at least. I rather, I'm more interested in what others do than what I do myself. But of course, it's when you sit down, I noticed already in the 90s, when you sit down at a dinner party, if I would happen to, be a CFO on that, aluminum profile company, maybe we didn't have that much to discuss, me and this woman that I've never met who was sitting next to me. So fortunately, we can keep the discussion going by talking about television or audio or whatever.
And I think when you and I first met over dinner, we talked about our media shared interest. Yeah,
exactly. So it's from that perspective, it's fun. I think the family has just been aware that I am a little bit too much constantly on. I've had over the years direct reports from Mumbai to Los Angeles, from Bogota to Stockholm, and even so in Africa, and it means that you're constantly on. And when the kids were smaller or younger, I came home 4:30 or something, did the groceries, cooked dinner, and then I worked from 8 to 10, and then I watched the news and sports, and then back to bed, into bed. So it's like, but now it's changed. The kids are grown up, and I have much more time to both work and do other things.
Now you also mentioned chairmanship.
Yeah.
So these are 2 very different roles, and not to be confused. So and you were hinting earlier that maybe you're better suited to the chairmanship. Do you want to say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, no, as I was saying, I think it suits my personality not to be too deeply involved in details, and also having several roles, several shares at the same time can be very rewarding and giving me the kind of inspiration that I want. Also, I must admit, also being able to give something to younger CEOs. It's not really my kind of style to, I said that I've had a mentor all my life, but, being mentor myself, it always feels a bit awkward because I don't feel, it sounds like old, and I'm not old. But it's I think honestly that I probably enjoy giving the advice, trying to help them along quite often with some guys who are 10, 15, 20 years younger than I am. So it's been that's been very rewarding in many ways. I like that. Currently I have 3 chairmanships, 2 listed companies and 1 private equity owned, and then my own company PodX, as you mentioned, where I was starting out as chairman and still serving on the board and being the founder, but now I'm also CEO since 1.5 years back or something. And so maybe a little bit too much, some of these guys could say, but I enjoy it. I hope I can carry on.
That's great. And what do you, when you're working with CEOs, what's the topic that they most need your guidance on, would you say?
I'd say it's consistency, keeping a red line in their communication to the board, externally, internally. Younger CEOs or people, when you are younger, you want to change the world, as we know, and you want to be all over the place. And I think a chairman's role is to help them prioritize, to make them focus, and to ensure that there is a clear red line so that the message is received everywhere if it's successful. Otherwise, change it. I think that's important. And knowing myself, I was extremely impatient, ambitious, but really impatient when I was younger. And I may still be a little bit, but then I can at least give them my views and opinions about trying to take time, be consistent, see that red line, make sure everybody understands it.
Mm. And so you know that you've been there. You were the impatient one for a while.
Yeah.
What about setbacks? You have to deal with setbacks as chairman as well?
Yeah, of course. That's also extremely important that you've had 1 or 2 of those, because there's a lot of CEOs that maybe do 1 or 2 stunts as big group CEOs or for listed companies, etc. And being able to do turnarounds, being able to come back after failures is super important. And I think that's also where you see the difference between those that are really made for it and those that are not. I think no really good CEO has only had success. You got to have and go through some failures, and I've had my fair share.
And the CEOs you're coaching, are they transformer CEOs, some of them?
Yeah, but not all of them, not always have been so. Some people joke about when I become chairman of a company, the CEO should beware. But I try to work with, if it's football season, you work with the team you've got, but inevitably after 6 to 9 months, you got to see how to get it to the next division. And if you have the ability to change some of the players, like the really important one, the CEO, then you'll do it.
Yeah. So your ambition continues. This time it's for the brands that you're chairman of.
Absolutely. And I don't mind taking that responsibility. I think it is my responsibility to the shareholders to make sure that we deliver value and that they get the return they should, and always focus on, not always on the largest shareholder, the main shareholder, but also thinking about the ones that are furthest away, that has the least information, and what they would ask from us. I enjoy actually. Well, maybe that's my entertainment background, but I enjoy hosting or chairing the AGMs myself. Okay. Just to, being there to listen and to pick up questions from the audience. Some very ill-informed, maybe even about what we're doing, but that's what we have to deal with.
And what about shareholders? Because as you say, in the AGM, you're the interface to the shareholders as well. Is there an expectation from certain shareholders, whether it's the PE world, the listed world, or something else, of a transformative play in your companies?
Yes and no. I mean, also, as a chairman, you can play different roles. There are, or you should be able to play different roles. And then I'm talking besides sort of the normal governance and all of that. You can either, it depends a little bit on the the people in the board and where on the journey the company is. But I have shared companies where we are doing so extremely well. There is more a question of keeping it, under surveillance and making sure that we do deliver on our promises. And then I've been sharing companies that needs a true and proper turnaround. And I've been too fast at times. I've been too slow more often, I think. So yeah, I don't think you should expect, if I share a new company, you shouldn't expect me to be a big change because of that. I think when I become a CEO, that's when you of a company, a new group CEO, that's when you can expect change.
Great, that's great. Now that's a nice link to talk about what you've transformed personally yourself. So can you share maybe one or two examples of what you've transformed?
Yeah. So I think if we go back almost 25 years in time, you come to the change of the millennium, and we had, for those who are that old, like me, maybe you.
Yeah, me too.
When we remember the dot-com crisis, which was fun in many ways when you look back at it, and we've had a few bubbles. I think we are maybe in a bubble right now also to some extent. And at the back of that, I came out of broadcasting. I moved into production instead, so television production, film and television production. Basically, after the dot-com bubble burst in 2020 or year 2000, 2001, advertising came down, TV advertising came down drastically, and the only thing you can cut as a broadcaster is on your program spend, and it takes 6 to 12 months before it gets effect, and it's on the true original program spend. So that meant that the underlying TV production market had been growing like crazy during the 90s in Europe and US and India, other markets, came under pressure. It was far too many players who have been making money without making great differences, basically. So we saw a lot of problems during those years with companies going under, the great need for consolidation, etc. And what I did then was I took over a small group of production companies in Scandinavia, and then built a large group where we were 35 production companies in TV and film across 12, 15 countries. And what we did was that we really made a huge change from I think we took away 75% on average of the fixed employees of these production companies, and went from a focus on having, being steady producers, having all of these, the makeup artists, the cameramen, the audio producers, whoever, that they were permanent employees, and the KPIs and everything was like on manning these studios. So I started off with, I sold all technology, I sold all studios, I fired 75% of the people of this Scandinavian group, and made sure that we transformed into a developing company that developed ideas and generated new ideas and formats and sold those into production, and then manned everything basically with 90% of freelance. And that changed the whole culture of the industry. And then we continued to do that across Europe and other markets. And it really changed the industry from being focused on producing to being focused on developing content. And then our big, we did. We couldn't scale in the same way, so that you see the margins on EBIT level growing immensely, but we had a much more flexible workforce, so we could turn down certain productions, etc., and only work with our own IP. Mm-hmm. And that meant an incredible difference in terms of flexibility, lower risk in many ways, higher risk in terms of developing our own shows, but then also being able to sell formats internationally and get hub productions of everything from like Survivor and Paradise Hotel and all those kind of big reality hits across the world. And that really built a big group. So yeah, that was a transformation of an industry.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, lots of things. I guess, it sounds like that built you some huge amount of flexibility you didn't have. Your fixed costs were way below what they had been. Certainly means you can take a downturn far easier than the competition. Maybe slightly slower to come up. I don't know, because there's a lot of demand for the freelance talent.
But at the same time, I think, that there's also there were so many people in the industry that not maybe all were fit for it. Right. So I, being a little bit harsh, I said to people like, all right, some of you will make more when we made these changes. Some of you will make twice as much 9 months a year, and then you'll be enjoying your summer. And some of you will have to, drive buses or work in kids care or whatever. And that's the harsh reality that we became fewer, better, faster, more flexible.
Yeah, fantastic. And it sounds as well like, as you said there, you changed an industry, not only your Swedish production company.
No, but I think we were in Europe. We were very early on. I think we were one of the first ones to really consolidate the industry and making the value chain in the industry to specialize also. Because when we got rid of technology, production technology, we got rid of studios and all that, it meant that somebody else had to become best at that, and we worked with them. And so, we rented it back, and others became, very good at hiring out freelance people, et cetera, et cetera. So together we built various parts of the value chain, and we made sure that the companies that were in each part were the best, rather than being, owning everything, controlling everything. And I think that became over time an industry standard. And of course, the industry has gone through those kind of changes after that as well. I'm doing it now also in the podcast world with my company PodX, where we're basically seeing the same thing. We first come together as a group to share the formats, the ideas, the IP, but we also now see that we can start sharing resources to a greater extent, but especially learning from each other, which are the key competencies that you have to have inside your company and which can you outsource.
So not every podcast company needs a studio.
Definitely not. All of them had in the beginning. Now, rarely anybody does.
Right. Fascinating. And so did these, you talked about businesses coming together. That sounds like it's a feature of the transformations you've been part of when you build the value chain. Or does that happen after you've taken the position with your own business? Do you have a kind of first mover advantage in that sense?
I think, maybe I just the impatient side of myself, or that I know that I'm not one of the, the brightest guys around. So I might not be able to invent something that is, totally unique or something. So I often end up in buy and build cases. Right. But that's also a little bit of a skill set, I guess, on how to, I think if someone were to, let's say in 20 years when I do the last audit of my work life, I'd say that what I managed to reach the highest perfection was probably how to manage M&A with different company cultures, different national cultures, and in creative industry. And that's not like putting together two factories and just tearing one down and moving over the rest to one. It's a little bit more difficult. Absolutely. So maybe that's where I acquired the skill set needed for that.
And have all your transformations required M&A?
Well, one could say that's also when you have to. When everything else fails, you can start M&A. There's a lot of people think that M&A is a failure, but I think the bigger mergers are sometimes very difficult to justify. But bolt-on acquisitions, when you have a very clear strategy of what you can achieve from these acquisitions, I think it's fabulous. I see all these companies now that are sort of these serial acquirers that are listed companies. They don't extract any synergies. There's hardly anything, any red line between those companies. It's just that they acquire, they manage to buy on a low multiple and release on a high multiple when they're in the stock exchange. Yeah, that's what I want to do too. But beyond that, I think we often have a strategy that takes us further. And for us, it's always super important to think about the next generation and how to be sustainable. And because that's always the kind of question you ask when you're running a company like this in the creative industry. So what happens when they leave and they leave? Yeah, but I can tell you 25 stories that's gone sometimes even better when they have left. There are companies, my chairman now at PodX, old business partner and friend of mine, he started a company back in the 90s called Jarowski, a Scandinavian producer. I think their Swedish company today is bigger than it was at the peak when he was there 20 years ago. And that was part of what we were doing. And today, they don't even remember him. And so we managed to build sustainable companies through processes, thinking about the next generation, through incentives and building it all in from the beginning. And that's a skill set.
Great. I'd love to come on to that. That sounds fascinating. So just sticking with the idea, because you sound like an ideas man as well. You sound like you come into industries, adjacent industries or existing industries, and you see opportunities. Is that a fair?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is that the role? Is that the chairman role, the CEO role? Both? Doesn't matter?
No, I think it's more the CEO role, which I'm trying to shy away from, probably because of age. But I see, I kind of like seeing, and that's what gets me going. I haven't, again, 34 and a half years, I've never, ever either been offered or taken up a role that has been sort of published or through a headhunter. Never, ever. I've created my opportunities myself by, coming up with an idea or seeing something needed to be done, talking to an owner, talking to, you should put these two companies together. And then, okay, but who's going to run it? Can you run it? No, that wasn't like, okay, I'll do it for a few years and then I do it for more.
Yeah.
I've never, but that's also
very impressive, Patrick. And
I'm a I'm a car salesman, but I've created my opportunities myself. And I could sit here and, bloody headhunters, they probably never had anything that I was, I'm probably exaggerating. I know that I haven't gotten one, but I might have been offered something that I turned down.
Who knows? We'll never know.
I can't remember.
No. And so you have the idea. Take us through what's your kind of playbook, if you like. You see an idea, maybe it's an industry consolidation idea, maybe it's a major cost play, maybe it's a content creation play. What's your playbook? How do you get it from an idea to a reality?
Well, if we take the latest one, then now PodX Group, I came out with a disastrous ending. I was group CEO for a company called Bright Group. And I was on the board first of this company from 2015, I think. We had to let the CEO go. It was a buy and build case in the tech side of the entertainment business. So it was basically technical solutions for big tours, events, concerts, that kind of stuff. Consolidator, Northern Europe, fine. So I was on the board, could offer advice. It was private equity owned. But he wasn't doing well. So we had to get rid of the CEO. I got on the board of that, ran that for 3 years. Wasn't doing super great, I must admit, but we were making progress. We made it ready for sale. We were about to sell it, or we had signed everything. We were going to sign the final documents on the 13th of March, year 2020. And the buyers were saying, we need a break clause here. And I was home because I had this bloody flu that came from somewhere in Asia. And I said, okay, show me the documents and we'll see what they have. They want this break clause because they were afraid of this flu too. And I said, that's going to be fine. It's just going to pass. And what happened was COVID came and we had to fire 85% of our workforce. All our contracts for the summer, all tours and all festivals, everything was canceled. And obviously they pulled out and then they acquired us 1.5 years later. But that was the year 2020. That was a tough year. So I basically, when I couldn't fire 85% of people and justify myself being there. So I handed over to my CFO and left as well. I was still a shareholder. And then they sold it 1.5 years later. But that's when I was sitting there thinking about coming out of COVID, looking at what happened in the podcast world, where the consumption made up very much thanks to people, isolating. Mm-hmm. So they started listening to, podcast at that time had been around for 5-10 years, but it really took off. And then at the same time, an old friend of mine, Staffan, had decided to leave. He was running Bauer Media in the Nordics, radio, and done so for 17 years or something. And they were first out launching the podcast platforms, etc. So I said, let's go and have lunch. And we had lunch in November 2020. I told him, listen, I've built 3 groups, 2 groups in television and film, this one in there. We're consolidating Northern Europe. You've built audio businesses across the Nordics, and you've seen the podcast industry come. This is what I see now. This is what's happening. And so we took a few lunches more, and we decided to have a go at it. So we started building the business plan in the spring of 21. Thought we were going to do it a smaller play in the Nordics. We thought we were going to have friends and family come in, chip in some money ourselves, chip in some money. And companies were going to be smallish. And then meeting one of those friends and families, the guy who's now my chairman, or our chairman, Saki, who I'd worked with before, he said, this is far too good to be on the smaller scale. Let's do it big time. Mm-hmm. Took us to Connie Johnson, the AQT founder, his family office, Carlbo, which is like says family office. It's a huge conglomerate today. And the pitch, it was still COVID times. So so Connie was in his summer house in the summer of 21. I pitched it 20 minutes. He was making sandwiches, and he said, "Fine, we'll do this." And then we started building it, and it's now become much bigger than we thought. In North America, South America, across all of Europe, and we've been sort of expanding the plan, but still it's the same. It's the same idea again in a new wrapping, in a new environment with new people. But I think this one is going to be the greatest.
Yeah, you're smiling.
Yeah, but it's so funny. It's. And then also I become the CEO again. Staffan wanted to stand back. He is older than I am, and we're probably going to take it to the stock exchange in 2-3 years. And he said, "Okay, I don't have that in me." And I said, "I have it. I'll do it. I'll take it. And I'm enjoying it. Yes,
right.
It's going to be the best one. Yeah.
What a story! That's amazing.
It's not going to be the biggest, but it's going to be the best.
Yeah. There you go. Fantastic. Very good. Now that's another nice link, because we had to something you mentioned before that says, we're talking about concept and deal making here, and funding and ideas. But of course, it's the organization that brings it to life. And I know that's something you're very thoughtful of, and particularly as CEO, you lead the team. You've been building the leadership team. How important is getting the leadership team right?
I have an old saying, when we start putting companies together in a buy and build case, which is very much private equity language. I don't use that much, but I say, hi, I come to a producer in a country. Hi, we're here. I've heard about you. You're the best at what you do. It could be a specific genre or in a specific country or whatever, part of the value chain. I say, we come here because you're the best at what you're doing. We're not here to tell you what to do because you know it damn well, but we're here to offer you some enhanced opportunities by joining our group. And we're not here to offer you an exit. That's a side thing that happens. You'll be rich, but that's another thing. I'm asking you to help me build the group. And if I then start sensing that it's the exit side of things that is important, that's not an entrepreneur for us. We want someone who is sort of the local king of the hill to be now a regional or global king of the hill, and with a lot of other kings on that hill, of course. And that's my job to manage all these.
And you could end up with a lot of kings using that approach.
Absolutely. But it's fine. We make them regional kings first, and then we'll see, take the battles up there, and someone is going to replace me eventually. But asking them to do what they're doing, continue with that, but jointly, way before we sign the papers, start identifying the next generation, finding incentives for them, because the founders, the entrepreneurs, they're always going to be, if they continue what they're doing and then use the opportunities that we have in our group, then I think they will always do well financially, and they will come up and work and build the group and inspire everybody else. but it's the next generation who's going to make it sustainable. And that's, I mean, it sounds like bullshit, but it's true. That's what we're really trying to do.
It is true, absolutely. Because, when you have your exit, the owners will move on, and then who runs what's left? And so these people are important. And it's refreshing to hear a CEO talk so quickly about the reward side of things. So what does that solution typically look like? How do you look after the next generation and, I suppose, incent them to perform?
Yeah, if we take the entrepreneurs at first, I mean, they could be in their 30s. This could be the first company, the only company that they've ever worked in, their own company. And then looking at what's happened the last couple of years, I mean, we've been building PodX now. We hadn't bought our first company when Putin invaded the Ukraine. We were on a really good growth trajectory when Trump this year, threw everything up in the air with the liberation speech and the tariffs. So we've been struggling, and for many of these guys, it's the first crisis they've ever experienced. I've had 4 big crises, having to handle, and that's also, quite reassuring, I think, both for the owners and for the younger generation. And then the generation below these guys, they are not maybe entrepreneurs to begin with, but they haven't taken the same kind of risk, but they are very entrepreneurial in their way they operate. Okay. So that's super important to identify. And for the first entrepreneur, those kind of guys, we want to own the majority, but not the full. We very seldom buy everything in the first 3 years. We buy 51, 65, 70%, doesn't really matter. We pay some of that in shares in the group, so that they have incentives of cooperating globally and being part of building the group. But they still own a chunk of the business locally. So that's, several of our companies are making dividends, and so they still enjoy the dividends. Like we get our dividend, they get theirs. But they also have shares in the group that they can see develop favorably, of course. And for the next generation, we try to, with option schemes locally and globally, try to make them also feel part of the journey by mirroring the same kind of success as their predecessor, their owners are having. And I think that works. But I think, we shouldn't be concerned about talking about money, because most people want to get rich and famous. And when you're young, it's 70% rich, famous and 30% rich. And in my age, it's at least 60-40 and the other way around. It's like with how you do your savings. It's like now it's 70% getting rich. No, but seriously, I think especially in the entertainment industry, people want to create success and being part of creating that success. And that is enough to some extent. Winning awards is great, and getting pads on your back in a great nightclub on a Friday night. Say, oh, did you produce that? We shouldn't underestimate it.
Absolutely.
But they also should be rewarded, and for us to have the consistency to stay on, because they could, of course, move on and do stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, they've got choices. And you talked about the kind of talent that does well in your kind of business. So what I think I heard was a strong entrepreneurial focus, and also somebody who's not just wanting, to cash out, but who's here for the growth journey as well. What else would you put on that list? What else do you look for in the people you bring in?
Creating success. Success starts with audience success for us. So we just launched here in the UK. We just launched a new football show called The Good, the Bad, and the Football. With
I saw that.
Good. With Paul Scholes and Nicky Butts, and they are doing tremendously well with the audience. And I was worried, because it's a crowded space, football in the pod space, so to speak, and a lot of them have been going on for years. Some of those characters, the talent is maybe even bigger than these guys that we're working with. But this is a new format. We formatted it in a new way. It's like the guys in the pub talking. It's not from the experts from the top, but it's really the lads talking about the games and sharing memories and anecdotes and stories. And it's doing incredibly well. And that's what people want to be part of. That's the number one thing. in our industry. You want to be part of that success and making that success and making it happen again and again.
So you want a big IP, something you can hang your hat on and say, I was part of that.
We've done for years. We've done the greatest rugby show in the UK, and we're also making a lot of money out of that. We're having a great monetization team who's making a lot of money, which is also the second stage. First stage, always the audience. Second is success among advertisers and brands. And we've now launched that format, a rugby show in France, where we have our French operations. And rugby is big in the UK, but it's super big in France. The World Cup coming up soon. So we're now starting to see that rugby franchise expand as well. We got a World Cup in next year in North America in football. We are in markets. We have offices and studios. Well, we rent studios. We have offices in Buenos Aires, in Mexico City, in New York, LA, and then across. I think the only country that we're in that is most likely not going to the World Cup is Sweden, which is a disaster, of course.
You'll need to do something about that, Patrick.
Yeah, well, we'll do the podcast anyway. So. But that's the kind of thing that attracts talent. That's off-air talent, on-air talent. That's what you want to work
people
with.
want to be part of something great, don't
they?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what I'm keen to. I've still got this idea of you acquiring many kings in my head, and so I'm curious about, as CEO now and CEO for the next couple of years at least. Let's say you get 20. I don't know, maybe you've already got 20. Maybe you get 30 kings. How do you lead 30?
Queens as well.
And queens, of course. I meant what, but how do you lead 30 kings and queens?
Well, I mean, we've restructured now, so we're more into regions. But I would say that the regional directors, 4 regional directors, myself and a few people on headquarters we're made up of these queens and kings. I think some you will have to nurture carefully, and it's hard for some of them to let go of their very operational roles and to be more of mentors and help the next generation work. Others are so tired of running their local shop that they just want to...
So they jump quite quickly.
Yeah, and they take on that role as being more of an advisor, more of helping out, etc. So I think it's very individual, going back to that football analogy, but you got to play with the team you've got and put them in. So I don't think we're hiring that much. We were on this is... true story. Very recently, we hired a very reputable firm here in the UK to find us a chief operating officer. 2-3 years going public. Maybe I shouldn't be the CEO, group CEO for forever. And we ended up saying that we got plenty of great people in house, so we made one of our guys COO.
Great story.
And we reorganized a little bit, and we got so many talented people that we can nurture into to the new positions that we're creating.
So am I right in saying it's not like a corporate blueprint where here's what our structure is going to be like? You're very much talent-led. Yeah. You're saying, here's the talent we've got. We're ready. These people are ready. These are not. We'll elevate these ones. We'll not elevate these ones. And we'll just play that for 6 months and see what happens.
Absolutely.
That's how you're approaching organization.
That's it. But still, I mean, it's one important thing, that there's no merit that you own a lot of shares in the group company. That has nothing to do with your role. Your role is something you earn. The other things that you've earned is from the past. That's what you made in your local market in Poland.
It's what got you to here.
Yeah. Exactly. But now it's only merit driven and what you can do. So we're sending one British guy over to America now to open up a new opportunity, the new audience, for a new audience that we're not present at the moment, and that's his big.
So your role as CEO sounds like it's part talent scout, part Henry Kissinger.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, I'm now living abroad in the UK. I've done so before. There are 2 types of foreigners or expats. The ones that talk badly about the country where you come from. Oh, it's so high taxes, or it's raining all the time. And then there are those that are super proud of where they come from and they can't stop talking about it. And I try to be neither. And it's actually been good. From one perspective, being Swedish, when I traveled around in the 90s in Eastern Europe and so on, because I could go in there and say, we were neutral, and they like Sweden, but I can go in there and even say, sorry, we were the cowards during the war. So, is there something we can do, help you out here? So I've traveled the world, used the fact that I'm Swedish and we have a decent reputation. We might not be, we're not American or British or French, who might have some kind of very, very, very clear-cut national cultures. And I've been using that to my advantage, I think, of being Swedish, without making a big fuss out of it. But I must admit also now, again, push a little bit what I'm doing right now with PodX. We come from a country with very strong, currently and historically, very strong in the audio industry. I mean, we created Spotify, we created Acast. We've got, a sister company of ours, Pop House, which is doing ABBA Voyage in London, which is doing Kiss in Vegas, and a couple. I mean, we are big in that industry. Epidemic Sound, super big unicorn from Sweden, also in the audio space. So Swedish audio, entrepreneurial media, entertainment. It's a good background, and we're seldom a threat. I mean, I thought it was Swedes and Danes who were fighting the hardest. But when I acquired, we had a Belgian company back at Zodiac 20 years ago. We acquired a Dutch company on the Belgium's initiative, but they started fighting so much we couldn't have them in the same room. But we're a threat to the Danes. So make the Danes the Scandinavian heads. That's always that's very important. Never make a Swede. I mean, the Norwegians, don't make them heads of anything, but if you do, that's not a threat, but it's not going to go that well. Sorry, Norwegians. I don't have any Norwegians in this group at the moment, so that's fine. But if you can't make the Swedes, because then the Danes are going to do everything they can to kill the Swedes, but the Swedes accept the Danes. And I think, there are these kind of, the Brits and the French. The Swedes outside of Scandinavia is very seldom a threat. So I use that.
So Henrik Kissinger was right then.
Yeah, he was a very global man, even though he was Republican. I am not.
Now, you talk a lot about next generation and preparing people, but it sounds like, as I listen to your role and how it's evolved over the years, what's the training school for a role like that?
I honestly don't know. It's listen a lot, be open, humble. To me, it's like being very honest. And, it's, I mean, for all CEOs and chairmen and chairwomen, it comes like there's a lot of things that are difficult and troublesome, that you have to fire people and restructure and refinance. There's a lot of difficult stuff. If you are as open and transparent and sometimes even blunt as you are with your success, then that's going to be easier. The ones that, that's my big learnings, that, be candid, be fast, be honest. That's the only thing I can think of that's, made me stay in the game. And I want to be in the game for a long run too. So I'll stick to that. No, and one thing also, I think we're all different, but I probably couldn't work in a big company. As I said, more than 1,000 people. Maybe that's when the pyramid becomes a little bit too big for me, and I need to know people and get to know people and be close to everybody and know their names. And politics I suck at it. I'm so incredibly bad at it, and career planning and all of that. So. But I am impressed with those who can handle that kind of. So if you have been working in a big, very political company, but you're not really comfortable with it, you're going to be able to use that in a positive way if you come into our part of the industry. So, get rid of the politics.
Get rid of politics. Well, that's a good thing anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, it is definitely. But in some groups and some jobs, I can understand it's needed. But I suck. I'm really bad at it.
So candid, fast, honest, no politics.
Yeah.
My next question is around the DNA of a transformer CEO. Have you just nailed it there?
Yeah, maybe, but that's more of that sounds more like personality and leadership. But I think for a transformer CEO, you have to take a couple of bets. You have to be able to articulate and explain, but then also make sure that people are empowered and want to walk that walk with you. I think it's super important to be repetitive. You can keep repeating. You've got to keep showing evidence and good examples and celebrate success. And be on the floor. I mean, again, I'm not a details person, but be very updated on what's going on. I can't sit in long meetings. I know there are people who work with me that are betting on how long I'll last, if it's 15 or 20 minutes. But it's the worst thing I know. But always still being just walk in and out of a meeting or something and pick up the pulse on what's going on. I think that's to transform a company. Because if you sit on your ass in your own fancy office, and even if you think you're communicating greatly and so on, if you're not out there feeling the change that it's actually happening, it won't happen.
And I think what you're also talking about, you talk a lot, you don't use the term, but you talk a lot about relationships. You talk about knowing people, feeling the sense, what's the mood in the room. That seems like it's really important to you.
But this is more a question for my therapist, because people get surprised when I'm getting very personal now, but I'm actually shy. I'm quite a bit of a solitary person. I enjoy being on my own. And I'm not saying that I'm playing a role, but I do. I enjoy, as I said, I enjoy the stage. I think it's great being here with you, just talking. I'm grateful that someone wants to listen. But I don't have a problem in standing up and making a speech in 20 minutes without having prepared in front of 10,000 people. I could do that now. Being seated at a round table like we were when we met the first time at this dinner with 7 people that I don't know scares the crap out of me.
All right.
Well,
it didn't show. It didn't show.
Good, but then I played my role well, but I'm not comfortable with it, so I try to avoid those kind of things.
Right.
And therefore, it is a challenge for me always to having, within hyphens, to build new relationships when I travel around meeting our companies, etc. But maybe it's because I don't feel 100% comfortable that I'm actually doing it well, because I have to make an effort out of it. It doesn't just, I'm not that kind. Cocktail parties, don't ever invite me to a cocktail party.
Noted.
And if it's a dinner, it has to be at least 1 or 2 that I know around the table.
Right next to you. Yeah.
Then I'm fine. Then I'm good. Yeah. So I got to make an effort, and making an effort always makes you better.
Absolutely. And you may feel uncomfortable in the short term.
Exactly, but it's something I've, over time I've learned to accept.
Now, a lot of people watching would love to be a transformer CEO. So you've talked about your personal journey. How do you get to be chairman, and with all the experiences you've gathered over the years? What about becoming a transformer CEO? And what's the route map or the college for that?
Well, as I quickly mentioned, I suck at career planning. I always think about what's happening, what's right for the company and the owners I work for, etc., and then the rest will follow. So I'm not good at giving that kind of advice, but I'd say that the all the ideas that you don't have to. You don't have to think that you have to be a great entrepreneur coming up with this next super duper thing that everybody's going to be using or enjoying or having inside their computer, whatever it is. You can be entrepreneurial and transform patterns, behaviors by just observing how things work inside a company, outside, in an industry, and challenge that constantly and say, what if we did this differently, and what if we did that? So you don't have to say, oh no, I'm not an entrepreneur, oh, I'm not a change manager, oh, I'm not it's just like just look at the behaviorals with the consumers, the buyers, the whoever it is, and inside the company, and I guess that's true leadership, that you come up with, this is how we should do it instead. You don't have to come up with a new invention, just new ways of working, cutting steps in the value chain, whatever it is. And I think there's loads of people out there that can do that. But I giving career advice, it just makes me feel uncomfortable.
Let me flip the question around a different way. If you were looking at somebody who said, I'm big in the media space, I'd like to be part of one of your businesses. What would be a turn-off? What qualities might you see in that person that would say that person will never work in one of my businesses?
Career and politics.
Career and politics.
That you see that you're too much focused on your career and that you're very political animal. That's not going to fly in a company that I'm part of.
Yeah, that's clear. That's clear.
Yeah.
Now, I have a few rapid fire questions just to kind of wrap things up, Patrick. So keen to get your view on this. The first one is, do you think transformer CEOs are born or bred?
Bred.
Okay, that was very quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Say some more.
No, but I think it's something that you acquire, something that you learn. It's not so much of a personal ability. It's rather something that you acquire. So everybody can be if that's an expression, I don't know, a transformative leader or something like that. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Clear. And are you always a transformer leader, or is it a one-time thing?
I think you're probably always a transformative leader if it's on a big scale, because then when you see that, as I said, you're probably painting big pictures with bright colors, mm-hmm. but when it comes to the frame and the lighting could make the value of what you've made 10x. Mm-hmm. That might not be the transformative leader that makes that last change. So don't be afraid of that. Step aside or bring people up who do that for you, and then you continue to paint these with these bright colors and these broad brushes.
So know your own limitations.
Absolutely, and don't be afraid. And if you've got skin in the game, somebody else identified that person is going to make it 10 times more valuable. Let them do it and then enjoy it because you got skin in the game.
So park your ego as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Demand for transformer CEOs rising, lower, falling, or staying the same?
I think it's always there because there's a lot of failure also, and it's transformative. In the word, I guess there's an aspiration of it becoming better, mm-hmm. but it all can also come out of something bad. It doesn't have to be something average. Mm-hmm. It can come out of something really bad that you're actually building something really important for the future. So I'd say that transformative leaders are always in fashion.
Always in fashion. So you think it's stable demand?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Hard to say whether it's going to be increasing. Why should it? Yeah, maybe. No.
Stable.
It's a good bet.
Okay. And then the final point is, what about the reward for these guys? Do they deserve a premium for the kind of briefs that they take on? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I mean, alignment with shareholders is important. So definitely good rewards, good monetary rewards. But as I said, at least in my industry, rich and famous, get the balance right. Mm-hmm. And famous, not only you yourself, but the stuff that you make. There's hundreds of people who created Survivor, but you can hardly find any of the format Survivor, but you can hardly find anybody who said, there was a show called Tutti Frutti, which were, a game show from Italy where women showed their tits, and I'm not proud of having taken that to air in Sweden back in '94. So, success is important.
Okay, very good. Now, I was going to ask what's next for you, but you're going to be quite busy for the next couple of years by the sounds of things. But what does long-term look like?
I don't know. I mean, we just took chairman of a company called Hacksaw that we took to the stock exchange in Stockholm to NASDAQ in June, July. And we're growing more than 50% per year. We have an EBIT margin of over 80%. It's, cash rich. That company is just we're not transforming that company. We just continue to make great games for people who enjoy that and making shitloads of money to our shareholders. And I hope that's going to carry on forever. Maybe I'm only going to be there for 3 to 5 years because it becomes maybe for me, with my impatience, then I'll move on to something else. But with, for PodX, I'll put it on the stock exchange in 2-3 years, and then I hand over to the next guy. Maybe I get to share if the shareholders wants to, and then I can do that till I'm 70 plus or something. Yeah. I don't plan. I don't career plan. I don't do anything.
You don't do career planning.
No.
Patrick, it's been an honor to have you on the show.
It was fun.
Thank you very much. I mean, what an amazing journey and story you tell. And I love the directness, the pace, the honesty, the no frills. It's straightforward the way you deliver it as well. So thank you for making the time.
Thank you.
And great to be a friend.
Nice to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.